Evejas Kusuk Tribhuvana Evejas Kusuk Tribhuvana Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Nila Madhava Radha Nila Madhava Radhe. Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Agyantamarandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantakam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatade Shatarane Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanyebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Good morning. Everybody dressed warmly enough today? I feel like Denver just arrived. So I thought I beat the cold, I guess. It'll be a little bit warmer. So continuing this morning with the queens telling their story. About how they were received or obtained Krishna as their spouse. So 1083:39 is the verse this morning, but we're going to read a bit out of Bhagavad Gita on sacrifice, austerity, and penance. So if anybody wants to follow along in the Gita, please help yourself to a Gita, or maybe someone can pass them out for those who want them. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Atmaramasya Tesyama Vayam Vai Griha Dakshika Sarvasanga Nivrityada Tapasa Cha Babhuvima. Please chant. Atmaramasya Te. Atma Aramasya of the self-satisfied. Tasya, him, ima, these, vayam, we, vai, indeed, griha, in the home, dasika, maid servants, sarva, all, sangha, of material association, nivritya, by the cessation, adha, directly, tapasa, by austerity, cha, and babu vima, have become. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Yes, it is. Yes. If you didn't hear that, Sarva is reminding me that these translation and purports are by disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Thus, by renouncing all material association, and practicing austere penances, we queens have all become personal maidservants of the self-satisfied Supreme Lord. Purport. In the opinion of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, Sri Mati Lakshmana became embarrassed when she realized that she had been talking about herself. And so she spoke this verse praising her co-wives. In her humility, Lakshmana claimed that Krishna's queens, unlike ordinary wives, could not bring their husband under control, and thus they could relate to him only as servile housekeepers. In fact, however, since the Lord's queens are direct expansions of his internal pleasure potency, Hladini Shakti, they fully controlled him with their love. In fact, however, since the Lord's queens are direct expansions of his internal pleasure potency, Hladini Shakti, they fully controlled him with their love. So although she was embarrassed because she was talking about herself, ultimately she was so excited about this, the fact that she had acquired Lord Krishna, that she just couldn't help herself. This is mentioned earlier purport. And so she goes ahead and she Lakshmana praises her co-wives, and speaks lastly of how they acquired Lord Krishna, and that was by renouncing all material association and practicing austere penances. She mentions that Lord Krishna is self-satisfied. He's the Supreme Lord. In other words, he has no need of anyone or anything. He's complete within himself and is fully satisfied in one sense with his own opulences and potencies and so forth. So his satisfaction is already fully and completely eternal and infinite. And yet, the Shastras and all of our acharyas tell us that this satisfaction is increased, and the bliss that he experiences just by being who he is increased by the fact that he has expanded himself in so many expansions, especially the living entities, but especially in the form of his Hladini Shakti, his pleasure potency, which manifests as all of the queens and manifests, and that's in one particular part of the spiritual world, but manifests even more so, more satisfying to him, are the gopis, because their love as having Krishna as their paramour is more exciting, according to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and the purports in the Adi Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita. We know that one of the main things that makes the Parakiya Ras, or the rasa of having lovers, is higher than that of having wives, because it's really exciting. And it goes against the norms of mundane material regulative principles. And then the supreme of those, of course, are Srimati Radharani. And in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi chapter 4, Adi Leela chapter 4, which tells us the confidential and supreme reason why Lord Krishna comes in the form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a union of himself and Srimati Radharani. That she is the highest, and that all of the Lord's other lovers and wives are actually expansions of Srimati Radharani, and that she is the one through whom even our love and devotion is offered to Sri Krishna through Srimati Radharani. She is Krishna. in the form of his internal pleasure potency. So although the Lord is fully and completely satisfied within himself, his already full and infinite sense of pleasure and satisfaction can be increased and is increased by relationship, by the rasa of relationship. Each one of us has a very particular and special relationship with Lord Krishna that no one else can fill. He is a lover of variety. And since relationships are his greatest pleasure, then variety of relationships, an infinite variety of relationships, is really pleasing to him. So each one of us has been created by Lord Krishna to fulfill, of course, one of the 5 main rasas, but each one of us has a tone and mood of those rasas that is unique to us. And so he longs to have each of us return, because no one else can do for him what you can do for him. It doesn't mean that he's dissatisfied without you, but he would be more satisfied if you made your way back home. And so he desires it more than you do. He desires you to return. He does not like to see you or I suffering in this material world. Lakshmana is so humble that, in fact, all of the queens are, that they keep saying that they can only relate to Krishna as a servile housekeeper. And but the reality is that Krishna is so taken by the love of his co-wives, by the gopis, and by Srimati Radharani that he is completely captivated by their love and controlled by that love. We know also that Krishna's pure devotees, when a living entity attains pure devotion and pure prema, pure love of Godhead, that Krishna becomes controlled by that love. And we can see this, for instance, in Srila Prabhupada. Everything he set his hand to do, Krishna fulfilled. Maybe not always exactly like he envisioned it, but the more he was in conquest of spreading Krishna consciousness across the globe, he was able to accomplish tremendous things. Everything he put his mind to, he would tell the devotees, oh, this, we want to do this. And he would send a group of devotees to another country or request them to fulfill something that was entirely impossible, like finishing the Chaitanya Charitamrita in, I think it was a month. No, I might be quoting wrong. Sarvabhauma, you might be able to refresh my memory, but there was a great yagya for one of the books, and it was humanly impossible. There's a whole team that worked around the clock. And Srila Prabhupada promised them, you'll be able to do it. And they did it. So, not just the queens, and not just the gopis, and not just Srimati Radharani, but anyone who acquires pure devotion to Lord Krishna, Krishna is controlled by that love. And he can trust us with it at a certain point, because he knows that we will do nothing but serve him, please him with that love. And then we can accomplish great things for him in this world. And only then. So how do we acquire this kind of love? How do we acquire this kind of love, this pure love of Godhead? Lakshmana, she mentions it here in this translation, or this particular text. She says, thus by renouncing all material association and by practicing austere penances, we queens have all become personal maidservants of the self-satisfied Supreme Lord. It is impossible to acquire love of Godhead without renouncing all material association. But without particular instructions about what that means, we can become diverted in one way or another. We can think that what Krishna is pleased by is the austerity, so we want to fast beyond our strength, or Shri Shri Radhanila Madhava Ki Jai. Renounce sleep beyond our strength, all of these kinds of things. And Krishna answers the questions about what is austerity, what is penance, and sacrifice. He answers the question about what those things are in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and that's what I want to read now. And I'll be quiet and let Srila Prabhupada speak for himself. Please pay attention closely, and I'll ask for a couple reflections right at the end. So Krishna is delineating various religious principles in light of the three modes of material nature. So in these following verses, he tells us about sacrifices and penances and so forth. He tells us about these ways that the queens were able to acquire him. We're starting at verse 11 in chapter 17. Thank you. Of sacrifices, text 11, of sacrifices, the sacrifice performed according to the directions of Scripture as a matter of duty by those who desire no reward is of the nature of goodness. The general tendency is to offer sacrifice with some purpose in mind, but here it is stated that sacrifice should be performed without any such desire. It should be done as a matter of duty. Take, for example, the performance of rituals in temples or in churches. Generally, they are performed with the purpose of material benefit, but that is not in the mode of goodness. One should go to a temple or church as a matter of duty, offer respect to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and offer flowers and eatables without any purpose of obtaining material benefit. Everyone thinks that there is no use in going to the temple just to worship God. But worship for economic benefit is not recommended in the scriptural injunctions. One should go simply to offer respect to the deity. That will place one in the mode of goodness. It is the duty of every civilized man to obey the injunctions of the scriptures and offer respect to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 12. But the sacrifice performed for some material benefit or for the sake of pride, O chief of the Bharatas, you should know to be in the mode of passion. Sometimes sacrifices and rituals are performed for elevation to the heavenly kingdom or for some material benefits in this world. Such sacrifices or ritualistic performances are considered to be in the mode of passion. Text 13. Any sacrifice performed without regard for the directions of Scripture, without distribution of prasadam, spiritual food, without chanting of Vedic hymns, or more particularly the Maha Mantra, and remunerations to the priests, and without faith is considered to be in the mode of ignorance. Purport. Faith in the mode of darkness or ignorance is actually faithlessness. Sometimes people worship some demigod just to make money and then spend the money for recreation, ignoring the scriptural injunctions. Such ceremonial shows of religiosity are not accepted as genuine. They are all in the mode of darkness. They produce a demoniac mentality and do not benefit human society. I remember a couple years ago there was a young man at the Denver temple, and he just had the hardest. He would come for instruction and say, "Okay, what do I do? I really want to take this on. You know, how can I become more Krishna conscious and make advancement?" And he would never do what anybody instructed him to do, but he would always figure some other way that he felt that Krishna wanted it. So one day he comes and he said, "Prabhu, I wanted to come and get your blessing and say goodbye for the next 30 days because I'm going to the mountains to fast for 30 days. So I really want to make advancement." And so Krishna put it in my heart to do this. How many believe that? Krishna put it in my heart to do this. I said, "Prabhu, Krishna's already told you how to do this, and you've gotten specific instructions from many of the devotees here. Why don't you just stick to that day in, day out?" He said, No, Krishna's really given me to do this. I'm going to go and fast for 30 days and acquire pure devotion. This is what Krishna's told me. So anyway, I think it was 3 days he wound up in the hospital. Very dangerous to do this kind of thing. Very, very dangerous. And the greatest austerity that we can offer to the Lord is that austerity that comes through the directions of Krishna and his representatives, through the Shastra, and that causes us to renounce our own ideas and our own will and our own way. Krishna wants our heart, not our suffering. We can offer suffering when it's appropriate and within the context of our normal life, but that's not the thing that pleases him. So next is austerity. Austerity of the body consists in worship of the Supreme Lord, the Brahmanas, the spiritual master, and superiors like the father and mother, and in cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, and nonviolence. Purport: the Supreme Godhead here explains the different kinds of austerity and penance. First, he explains the austerities and penances practiced by the body. One should offer or learn to offer respect to God or to the demigods, the perfect, qualified brahmanas, and the spiritual master and superiors like father, mother, or any person who is conversant with Vedic knowledge. These should be given proper respect. One should practice cleansing oneself externally and internally, and he should learn to become simple in behavior. He should not do anything which is not sanctioned by the scriptural injunctions. He should not indulge in sex outside of married life, for sex is sanctioned in the scripture only in marriage, not otherwise. This is called celibacy. These are penances and austerities as far as the body is concerned. So learning to practice these austerities of body are difficult enough for us. We don't need to tack on severe fasting and so forth and so on. If one can simply learn to control the urge and the itch for the fulfillment of illicit sex desire, you can master just about anything else in terms of bodily austerity. And this actually is the greatest austerity, because it is, sex life is primarily not just a desire for something that's pleasurable. It's a desire to be the Purusha. It's the desire to usurp the place of Krishna and to be the enjoyer and controller. It's more about dominance and our desire to be God or like God. And so if we can control this one bodily desire, learn to control it by the process of bhakti yoga, which is the only way you can control it, is by hearing, chanting, remembering, worshiping, praying Lord Krishna, to Lord Krishna. Srila Prabhupada says you can measure your advancement in Krishna consciousness by your freedom for the desire for sex life. How can you measure your advancement? Freedom from the desire for sex life. Because it's a freedom from our desire to be God, to be the enjoyer and controller, and to own. Text 15. Austerity of speech consists in speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and also in regularly reciting Vedic literature. Purport. One should not speak in such a way as to agitate the minds of others. I told him the truth. Yes, but you did so in a surly manner, and now he's upset with you. Of course, when a teacher speaks, he can speak the truth for the instruction of his students, but such a teacher should not speak to those who are not his students if he will agitate their minds. This is penance as far as talking is concerned. Besides that, one should not talk nonsense. The process of speaking in spiritual circles is to say something upheld by the scriptures. One should at once quote from scriptural authority to back up what he is saying. At the same time, such talk should be very pleasurable to the ear. By such discussions, one may derive the highest benefit and elevate human society. There is a limitless stock of Vedic literature, and one should study this. This is called penance of speech. Has anyone ever had the experience of having your Guru Maharaj or some guide, Shiksha Guru or other authority in your life speak really firmly to you, almost not in an angry tone per se, but really sharply and firmly speak to you, and yet it was pleasurable. So often I listen to Tamal Krishna Goswami, and he spoke so firmly and sharply, and but his heart was so filled with love that when he speaks that way, it's always pleasurable. And so anyway, it doesn't have to always be pretty, but we should always speak in such a way that it brings satisfaction to the hearers. And satisfaction, simplicity, gravity, self-control, and purification of one's existence are the austerities of the mind. Satisfaction, simplicity, gravity, self-control, and purification of one's existence are the austerities of the mind. How is satisfaction an austerity? The mind wants to be unsatisfied. Or the mind actually wants to find satisfaction in things other than Krishna. So there was a period that I was really unsatisfied for a period of time, and my Guru Maharaj had me read this and report to him. And I had never considered how satisfaction could be an austerity. And but it is, because and these other principles in this verse go into how one can become satisfied in mind by simplicity, gravity, self-control, and purification of one's existence. The mind can become satisfied. Srila Prabhupada, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, to make the mind austere is to detach it from sense gratification. It should be so trained that it can be always thinking of doing good for others. The best training for the mind is gravity of thought. One should not deviate from Krishna consciousness and must always avoid sense gratification. Boy, I've been doing sadhana and austerities and service all day. I need to take at least 10 minutes for myself and just chill out. And yet, we find that when we deviate from remaining Krishna conscious, this becomes a horrific form of suffering. And what happened a week later? We're like, how did I get off track? So, to have satisfaction in Krishna conscious, we must endeavor to remain Krishna conscious ceaselessly by the process of bhakti. (17) This threefold austerity performed with transcendental faith by men not expecting material benefits, but engaged only for the sake of the Supreme, is called austerity in goodness. So, our endeavor must be to please the Lord and not ourselves. And we can get off track even in our sadhana. We can do our sadhana for the wrong reasons. We can chant our japa for the wrong reasons. We can do service for the wrong reasons. In a temple, just because we work in a temple doesn't make it bhakti. It's our motive that makes it bhakti. And our motive should be not anything for ourselves. The key to excellent japa is to chant for Krishna's pleasure and not for your own pleasure. And also to chant for the sake of the benefit of others. Or even, I want to become advanced for the sake of being able to give more for the good of others, for the Krishna consciousness of others. That's a good motive. But just because I'm suffering and I want to feel good, of course we start there, and that's okay. And Krishna does bring a sense of pleasure and happiness in the beginning that way. But he really wants to wean us off of our addiction to sense gratification. So, to do all of these things for the sake of Krishna's pleasure is true austerity. And with that, I'm going to open it up for reflections. I know it's not very much time, but we start late during this month. Yes, Bhakta Marcus.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for class.
You're welcome.
It's a pleasure
Hare
to listen
Krishna,
as
all
always.
glories to Kesava Bharati Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai. And so I just really enjoyed the point. I always enjoy this point in text 15, talking about, how austerity of speech is quoting Vedic literature, and it's how this is called penance speech, because I think it's interesting how it doesn't say just give up speech, just stop talking, renounce all types of speech. No, it's if we need to engage our speech properly, we don't do false renunciation. And I feel that this is an important preaching point and an important personal point as well. for anybody in the movement. And it just got me thinking of text 420. He ever satisfied and independent, he performs no fruitive action, although engaged in all kinds of undertakings. Because we're not attached to the results. We're doing penance and sacrifice in the mode of goodness, which is ideal. So, yeah.
Jai. Thank you. Nice reflections. Yes. I'm sorry, Mataji, I do not know your name. Jill. Yes, Jill. Haribol.
Just a quick question.
Sure.
Why is the names, forms, glories, and pastimes of Sri Krishna the most important verse in Bhagavad Gita?
Why is
The names, forms, glories, and pastimes of Krishna.
the most important? Why does Bhagavad Gita say that it's the most important thing to concentrate on?
Yes.
Okay. So the reason why is because Krishna created us for himself to know and love him. And not only does this bring him pleasure, but it's the only way that we can be satisfied and enjoy our own constitutional nature, which is just like Krishna's. Krishna is Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha. He is the perfect form of eternal bliss and knowledge and bliss, eternal knowledge and bliss. So our constitutional nature at the level of spirit is we are also eternal knowledge and bliss. The more we put our minds on him, the more we become cleansed of the desire for anything but him. Eventually, we can become so pure where we only desire him. And when we only desire him, there's no other material desire left, then we get him. He gives himself to us. So the pathway to gaining this kind of love is to keep the mind focused on the Lord's names, the Lord's pastimes, the Lord's paraphernalia, all of these things. Anything having to do with Lord Krishna that is given to us in the Shastra, if we keep our mind constantly on these things, we make advancement. And the reason why is because we were created and meant to know and love Krishna. So the more we choose to do that, the more he restores us to that relationship. And this is the essence of bhakti, Jill. Bhakti yoga means to keep the mind focused on the Lord, his names, his pastimes, and so on. Does that answer the question? Awesome question. Is that satisfying? Okay, very good. Hare Krishna. Nice. I really enjoyed your question. That was a great question, by the way. Great, great question. Shri Shri Radha Nila Madhava Ki. So we're at the end on the dot. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki, all the assembled devotees Ki, Vanchakalpatarubhyscha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha, Patitanam Pavanyebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Thank you for hearing me. It's very merciful.